Hey, how's it going guys? My name's Daniel, aka HashLips, and welcome to this very exciting video where I finally show you how to upload onto Ipfs. Firstly, if you do struggle with this video, go and rewatch this series, this red thumbnail series, talking about minting from A to Z. Most of the concepts that I'll be discussing today will be regarding this series as well as extra, especially the Ipfs part. Perfect. The next thing I want to mention is if you struggle, go and check out our Telegram page because our community on Telegram is growing rapidly and a lot of people get help there, especially if something goes wrong. Anyway, let's get started with Ipfs. So before we jump in, we have to look at Ipfs. What is Ipfs? And simply, I don't want you to get scared when you hear Ipfs or think about anything more complex than a storage mechanism. Think of it as an external storage hard drive. But this external storage hard drive is spread across the whole world in different nodes, and a lot of people share these nodes and they make sure that data lives forever. Alright, so Ipfs, storage mechanism. And we are going to take data and we're going to store it. How do we track an image that's stored on Ipfs? Well, every piece of data that goes onto Ipfs, whether it's a folder, videos, image, whatever it is, even websites, gets an address, a unique identifier called a CID. Let's go and look at how a CID looks like. Let's take a look at Opensea's documentation on metadata standards. Why is this important? Well, Opensea is the market leader when it comes down to NFT marketplaces. They give a good understanding of how metadata should be structured for their marketplace to consume, as well as storage mechanisms. If we scroll down on this page on Opensea's documentation, we get to the section where Ipfs is mentioned. There are numerous ways of using Ipfs. Ipfs is simply the storage mechanism, but how that data gets there, that's another question on its own. There are so many ways, and that's why I've waited this long to show you a way, because I figured that through all these different ways, there's coding different ways, there are direct minting ways and all these things, I wanted to find a simple enough way where you can upload bulk amount of data and actually reference it through a smart contract, and that's what we'll be doing today. Anyway, I talked about the CID, and this is how a CID looks like. It generally starts with the MQ. And this address basically refers to a single piece of data, a folder, a video on the Ipfs network. I just want you to understand that, and you'll be good going forward. A CID is a unique identifier. Keep in mind, if the data ever changes, that CID also changes because it's generated from that data. It's a hash of that data in some way. All right. There are other ways of uploading Ipfs to Ipfs via APIs, via the console, and also you can have a Node.js server running, serving your files, your metadata, and uploading that actual server to the Ipfs. If you want to learn more, you can read this article over here. What we are going to be focusing on, and the goal for this video, is to get a CID for all the images, a folder where all our images will live on, so we have a unique identifier. We are going to adapt our metadata to be appended with Ipfs colon, then forward slashes. This is not how you call the Ipfs network, by the way, but if you specify it like this in your metadata, Opensea will read it and replace that Ipfs with the correct gateway. We'll talk a little bit about gateways in a second. Let's go ahead and look a little bit deeper into Ipfs and how can we actually go and store it on Ipfs. What mechanism can we use? Like I mentioned, there are different ways of accessing IPFS and uploading data. One of the ways is actually downloading the IPFS desktop app. The app looks like this, and it has a file section much similar to the one I'm going to show you on Pinata. The reason why I'm going to show you Pinata is because there's a lot of dependencies that you need to install, such as the IPFS CLI, which sometimes doesn't work nicely with Mac, especially the M1 chips. So I don't want you to go and struggle. I'm rather going to show you an external service that uses IPFS, but is a nice wrapper, and you don't have to host the node yourself. This is hosting the node yourself, and you can go that route as well. Talking about Pinata, this is what we'll be using today. It's a service that kind of wraps around IPFS and provides file storage. I already have an account, but if you go to the pricing model, these people are free, and I'm just going to use this free plan. We do get up to 1 GB of free storage on this platform, right? And it's not only this platform, it's the whole of IPFS, just keep that in mind. But on this platform, we get about 1 GB worth of storage for free, which is super awesome. Thank you, Pinata. All right, and then the last way, not the last way, but another way, but a special kind of console and JavaScript way of uploading NFTs, you can actually go and use NFT storage. These guys have a special kind of API that you can interact with either through HTTP, meaning requests, or a JavaScript library. So we can actually use this in our Node.js code to kind of on the fly mint to a smart contract. In the future, we'll definitely get to these kind of things. But for today, we're going to keep it simple. I'm going to show you your baby steps in uploading onto IPFS. What you need to do now is actually go and create or log into Pinata by creating an account, create a free account, and then get to the dashboard, which looks like this. The dashboard actually looks much the same as IPFS desktop, right? So the desktop app of IPFS looks very similar to this. The reason for that is because it's so simple. It's a folder that you upload things to, and it creates these unique CIDs. We're going to see how we can upload a folder just now, but go ahead and create this profile first, then get to your portal. Okay, so we have IPFS ready, waiting for us, okay? It's ready for us to upload some data, but we don't have data yet. If you want a cool art generative code program, go and watch the series, especially this purple series over here at the top. This will give you great insight on what I'm about to show you right now. I'm just going to show the simplified version, but anyway, you can read down here in the documentation on how to use this. Basically, we're going to take layers, convert it into images, and we're going to create a lot of them. We're not going to create 10,000 because I want this video to be quick, so I'm going to make only 20 images, but we are going to do the full process. Next, what you want to do is have Node.js installed, and also click on this latest release over here on the right. Once you get to this release actually has the functionality to rename the base URI that you're going to need for the IPFS. So go ahead and download the source code over there in the zip file, unzip it, and open it in your favorite IDE. I am going to personally use Visual Studio Code. After you've downloaded the program, this is how it's going to look in your IDE. You can open it in any IDE. So here's all the folders and files that we're going to work with. We need to make sure that we have installed all the dependencies. In your terminal, run npm and install. So install all the dependencies. We're just going to install Canvas for now. Once this is done installing, we are going to simply run this program and just generate the basics, because I just want to convey the message of how to take these images with its JSON files and upload them. The long story short, all this program does is you populate images in this layers folder, namely eye colors. You can have eyeballs that we've chosen, some goo, some irises, and these are basic layers. That structure is defined in the source file, in the config file.js in the source folder. This is where the structure is specified. These layers' names needs to be exactly spelled correctly over here, and the order here needs to be correct. You want to render from the background all the way to the top. You can do this by watching the previous series like I said, but for now, just enjoy this. Just look at this video at how to actually build this up, generate artworks and the metadata along with the collection. So next what we want to do, you notice that there's no build folder inside of this file system. Just a side note, Windows users seem to have a problem with this program because they don't give it the permission. So when you open the folder onto your IDE, maybe open it as an administrator or something. That might help a lot. Anyway, to get this program running, I'm going to hit Command K to clear out the terminal. This is only on Mac. But then I'm going to enter node space index.js. When I run this, this program is now going to programmatically create new images. And here we go, there's a new build file. I'm going to open this build file and check inside here. There's an image directory as well as a JSON directory. These images look like new eyeballs that's just been generated from the layers that I've shown you in that previous folder. How cool is this repo? Anyway, in the JSON folder over there is the exact same JSON for each different file. And so we have 1.json, 2.json, 3.json, and we have the corresponding images in the images folder. The reason why the JSON looks like this is because we have to keep to the standard of Opensea's metadata and the attributes field. Each NFT needs these fields to truly be an NFT and for marketplaces to consume it correctly. One important field is this image. This actual image URL, we are going to actually try and reference an IPFS CID instead of a URL to pinpoint where our NFT lives. I'll show you how to do that in a second. But the attributes are there as well, so if you can see, these are how the attributes look, and in our case they look exactly the same. This, like I mentioned, is the image thing that we are going to be replacing once we have our CID. We don't have that yet, and we have to go and create it on Pinata first in order for us to know where these images live. Let's go and do that. Let's go ahead, and now that we're happy with our whole collection, we have images and JSON files for the metadata. We can go ahead now to Pinata and upload this. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to my browser. I'm going to go to Pinata, and the next step that we want to do is actually upload that whole image folder onto Pinata. So click up here on the upload icon. We want to select folder. Then I'm going to search for that whole images folder, just the images folder. So let's select this whole images folder. I'm going to say upload. It's going to ask me, do I want to upload these 20 files? I'm going to say yes. And here's where we have to actually give it a name. This is just a name that Pinata will have here for you to know what this actually is. I think let's create IPFS, and then we'll call it full test. IPFS full test images, like that. All right. I'm going to say upload, and this process will kick off. It's going to upload my data. At this very second, you basically have uploaded data to IPFS. Okay, and in that, it's created a CID to that folder. Here it is. So you can see IPFS full test images, and there is our unique CID, which we can now go ahead and copy and reference in a gateway. And I'm going to explain to you what a gateway is just now. But basically, this is the identifier of where this data lives, this whole folder. You can have a look at your folder by clicking here on this eye, and it will upload and open up this gateway, and then it will go and display all the images that's in here. So I want to make something very clear of this URL. Everything from here to here is the gateway. It means that everything from before your CID is the gateway, how it gets to the data. Gateways can always change, and that's why we're going to try and not include the gateway into our NFT. We are going to reference it how Opensea wants us to reference it, because Opensea chooses its own gateway. All right. This part is the unique identifier telling us where it's stored on IPFS. All right, that is how it works. But apart from that, our fully qualified URL for our image will probably look something like this, /1.png. When we hit 1.png like so, we will get to the actual image because it's stored in that location in that folder, right? Perfect. I hope that's very clear. Let's jump back to Pinata and then let's go ahead and actually copy this CID. Click on this button over there so it's copied. Make sure that you copy this correctly. I want to mention another thing. There is a concept called pinning in Pinata, hence the name, and also in IPFS. Pinning is talked about a lot. What pinning basically means is if you pin something, and I think by default it gets pinned on Pinata if you leave the data here for long enough. I don't know if we should do anything more to it. Edit pin policy, LC, but as long as you pin it, it means that it will actually start spreading across the IPFS network onto different nodes. It means that you are happy with the data and it can live forever, because once it starts spreading, there's no real way of taking it ever down. Keep that in mind. Okay, that's the concept of pinning, making sure that it stays on there. Once you've pinned something and it's on there for long enough nodes get hold of that data and then starts duplicating it and sharing it across the world. And that's how data stays there forever. Anyway, now that we have copied our CID, you can see there's other projects that I've just tested with, but I'm going to copy my one. Your one will look different. I'm going to navigate back to my app. Once I'm back to my app, I do not want to run this program again. So at this point, you do not want to run a node index.js again, because you'll rewrite your data and you'll have to do this process from the start. Okay, so don't run node index.js. Instead, what we want to do is go to the source folder, go to the config.js, and go and replace this IPFS, basically this part over here. What we want is it to say IPFS : / and the CID. Alright, this is exactly what we wanted to do. The reason for us only putting it here, and I will show you now, we don't put a / over here, but on the smart contract we do put a /. Okay, the reason for this is that this smart contract, if we go to the main.js, just briefly, it goes and puts a / there and appends the addition and then appends this PNG. All right, but this program has already run. So how are we going now to update this base URI without running the program again? Well, that's why we have utilities. So what I want you to do is replace your URI now in there, save it, then type in node space utils / update base URI. So you are going to type node space utils / update base URI.js. Once you've done this, take note that this says that it's now updated the base URI to be this. And indeed, if we go ahead and now look at our build folder, if we go into the JSON, we can see that the metadata now contains this fully qualified URL. You can see all the images also is updated, and notice that their extension also is, stays the same. Perfect. If we now take this and go and put this into the browser, it will not work because it needs the gateway here in the front. This is what Opensea replaces, and you can replace it as well. Later on we'll read our own data like that. Now that you've done this, our next step is actually to go ahead and now go and put our metadata inside the IPFS2. So now we are back at Pinata, and the next thing that you want to do is upload your metadata folder. I'm going to do the same process again. This time we are going to upload the metadata folder. So what you want to do is go one back and choose the JSON file. Make sure this is the correct JSON file, the one that's now been updated with the new base URIs. Let's go and say upload. It's going to ask us if we want to upload this, and we're going to say yes. We're also going to call this IPFS, but this time I'm going to call it the JSON. Okay? I'm going to say upload, and it's going to do its thing. Now you're going to see something magical. Here you can see that we have a new CID, and this CID is the one that you call your base CID, your base URL, which we are going to upload to a contract just now. But just take note, if I click here on this file, it's going to call a gateway, and it's going to try and reference that CID, and there's all our JSON files. But what's cool now about it is that our smart contract will return this with a / maybe 2.json, like so. And then once it does that, you can see that there's all our metadata, and this is now all sitting on IPFS, as well as our image. There's our image. So we can see that our image is indeed there, and remember what I told you, we're going to use this gateway. So I'm just going to replace this part now. So I'm going to copy everything up from there to here, and I'm going to replace it over there, and we should see our image. Okay, there's our image. And now all the data is on IPFS. So the next thing we need to do, the only thing we have to do is deploy a smart contract, set everything up, and it should be there. In order to do this last part, we have to jump back to GitHub just to go and grab a smart contract. I'm going to go and click on the repository section and go to the smart contract, the Solidity smart contract repo. This repo has contracts which I'll populate on a regular basis, but in particular it has the base NFT smart contract that I want to use. I'm going to go ahead and go and copy every line from the bottom to the top, like so. Then what I need to do is jump over to Remix. If you've seen my previous videos, Remix is a great Solidity compiler. I'm going to paste everything here in the nft.sol smart contract. So you go and create a new file, call it nft.sol, and then paste it. I already had this here. Now that we have this, we have all the necessary information that we need to go and complete our smart contract and deploy it. If you want to test this on the test net of Opensea, you can go ahead and connect your MetaMask to the Rinkeby testnet. We've explained this in previous videos, so just go and watch them. But once you have selected that on MetaMask, you can use the injected Web3. This will put you on the Rinkeby network 4. And for those of you who had questions if you can do this on Polygon, yes, you can deploy this on Polygon as well, just like that. Anyway, we're going to select our contract here on the deploy section, remember, and we're going to say simple NFT smart contract. I'm just going to close that previous smart contract. We can then open up this deploy section and enter in our constructor values. I'm going to enter in the IPFS, so IPFS underscore test, like so. And I'm just going to copy this value for that as well. Okay. And this is our symbol. So you will fill these in nicely. But now we need our initial base. How do we get that? Well, if we go back to Opensea's metadata structure, remember, we have to have this structure. So I'm going to copy everything up from there to there, and I'm going to go back to my remix. I'm going to paste it in there, and now we need our CID of our metadata. So jump over to Pinata, grab the JSON metadata one, copy that, go to remix, let's go and paste, and add a /. That / is very important because in this case it has to kind of reference, get the ID, and append it with .json here in the base extension. So That's all you need to do. Don't forget the forward slash. Once you are ready, we can go and say transact. So at this point, you hold your breath and hope that this deploys fine. I know that by now we need to get a pop-up, so there it is. We're going to confirm it, and it takes about 30 seconds to deploy on the Rinkeby test network. Once this is deployed, the smart contract will pop up here on Remix, but I want you to see something, and I want you to keep something in mind that you need to remember. Before you exit Remix, please make sure that you click on this copy button over there. Copy everything in that file and go to a folder, maybe this program or anywhere where you can save it. Save file new and paste in all that data that you have. Okay? The reason for this, that you need to do this, and I'm just going to maybe save it as that. The reason why you want this is your constructor ABI. And on a later stage, if you go down here to the bottom, when you verify a contract, you need to give it all this data at the bottom up until the last trailing zero, which is there. So keep that in mind, okay? Yours might be different, but I just want you to do this so that you don't forget to deploy on the main network and then all of a sudden you don't know where to get that data from. You can work around it in a certain way, but this is the easiest. And let's look, here's our smart contract. If we open it now, we can see that because our smart contract said we wanted to mint 20, we can see that our smart contract supply is now 20. We can also see that if we go to the token URI now and we query number 2, we can see ID2's JSON is going to be IPFS and then that forward slash. But now there is a little bit of a problem because there's only one forward slash, and I could swear we placed in 2. We might have a problem over there, which we're going to fix, and I'm going to show you how to fix that too. So let us go and fix that quickly. Let me try and fix that first of all and show you how to do that. Luckily in our smart contract, we have a thing called set base URI, which I'm going to try and do this again. Just make sure that we do have 2 forward slashes. Anyway, let's go and paste our 2 forward slashes over there. Go to Pinata, go and copy our CID, go back to Remix, go and paste it in there and add a forward slash. Remember the last forward slash. Say transact. We're going to have to do a new transaction, wait for it to update on the blockchain. So we can track it and see how long this takes by going over here, and it's still busy. So once this is done, I'm going to query it again, and just to make sure that there's 2 forward slashes over there. Keep in mind that that's why smart contracts are so cool. Some of them can be updated. It's all dependent on how they have been coded. I'm going to try this again and run this token URI. I see the transaction went through successfully. And when I do, I can see indeed there's 2 forward slashes. Now we're ready to rock. All right, perfect. But there's already 20 in there, and this is what we get back. So if we copy this now, this won't work for us because we need that gateway. But let's see if we go to our test net. So maybe we should go to Opensea. This is the testnet.opensea. This will only work on test networks such as Rinkeby and the other one. But we can test out what we've done now on our smart contract. So let me go to my profile and let's hope that our metadata and stuff's here. Okay. So I am seeing the IPFS underscore test v3, but I'm not seeing the actual data. In the previous test that I did, which was this one, the IPFS test 2, that worked perfectly because I didn't forget the forward slash, which was so stupid of me to do that now. But anyway, there's a workaway around this. Basically, all you need to do is when you have your NFT, you can obviously see it doesn't get the metadata properly because there's no properties. You can simply go on refresh metadata. Once you click this refresh metadata button, it tells Opensea that you want it to be refreshed, right? But instead of going and showing you guys now this and you being sad. I just want to show you what it would look like if you do it correctly. All right, so go ahead and go to Remix. We're quickly going to do this whole process again, but this time I'm going to go and copy this base URL, and I'm not going to let me just copy the whole thing. I'm going to redeploy it, and just to test if everything is fine. So I'm going to actually, let's redeploy it like this. Let's just add a /. Let's go and transact. So I'm going to do this again on the test network. Let's do this, and this will probably be v4 now. Just make sure that you have those two / over there. Once this is busy being deployed, I'm just going to talk to you about Opensea and the test network. So this test network is there for you to test. Please don't go and upload a bunch of smart contracts on the main network. First of all, every time you upload one, it appends it with the version, and you never get the true kind of feel for your NFTs, right? Because it just doesn't work nicely. But anyway, I'm just blabbering about, so let's go back to Remix. Let's see, there's our new smart contract. Let's go and open it up. Let's go and see here at the bottom, 20 was minted successfully, yes. Let's go and check number 1's URI. There it is, perfect. And I actually just want to run a test quickly by clicking on one of these. And then I want to replace everything in my smart contract up until the gateway. So I want to go and grab everything from here to my CID. Then I'm going to move back to the one that I clicked on, which is there. I'm going to replace that and just see if I can get it. And indeed, I do get that. So I don't know what's up with Opensea. This stuff should work. So I'm going to refresh. I'm going to refresh my Opensea and see what happens. So there is the new collection. You can see IPFS v4, and there's the other one. And there we go, guys. I almost got a heart attack. But anyway, there we go. It's loading. It's busy loading. Yeah. And this is v4, right? And I wonder if v3 will load now as well. I think the one that we've refreshed might. But that's why it's crucial for you to get that right from the start, because now, as you can see, now we have our metadata and it's all there, okay? How cool is that? If we actually go and click on an eye, then we can go down to its properties and we can see there's all its properties as well. So everything is working as intended. Please keep in mind that these trades do take some time to populate. It takes about a half a day, especially if you go into your collection. These values also take about a day to populate. Keep in mind, if you want royalties on your collection, you can go in here and edit collection, and then you can go and sign it. And then once you've signed it, you can upload some logo images, feature images, banners, and down here at the bottom, you can add your royalties. That was also a question that a lot of people had. Guys, I am ecstatic that this worked so nicely. That is a super cool way of uploading to IPFS. I hope this video was super useful to you guys, and like I said, if you have problems, always refer to this website and go to our Telegram community. They'll help you out. Please don't forget to go and subscribe to this channel if you enjoyed this video, and turn on the bell icon so that you can see future updates. Thank you so much and have a great evening.